All right, ladies and gentlemen, you do have a test tomorrow, 25 questions, all multiple choice. You do have a focus and vocab due tomorrow. Tomorrow you are picking up your Russia, which I spent a long time working on last night, and my brain hurts. Anyway, so we start Russia tomorrow. I'm actually pretty excited about it. And then we have writing week. Yeah, so that's coming. So I'm just letting you know. It is coming pretty quickly here. And if you're in AP World, you have writing week and AP Gov, and then the next week you have it in AP World. So just putting that out there, just letting you know. Anyway, I will tell you, I think today's content is the easiest of all of Iran. Does that make us happy? So we've already got through the hard stuff. I think your due now, 8th period, made me very happy. So thank you. Your retention of the content is very good. 4th period and 6th period are having a little struggle with it, but you guys crushed it, so I do appreciate that. But I do think the content that I'm teaching you today is pretty kind of straightforward and actually kind of interesting. Can we agree? Government structures, it's hard to get excited about government structures. Can we agree? But this actually leads to some really cool stuff. All right, here we go. So yesterday we got to judicial branch, yes? Hello? Okay, so we talked about the 3 different types of courts. What is the highest court in Iran called, Emerson?
Supreme Court.
And how busy is it, Emerson? Super busy or not busy? And why isn't it very busy? Yes, they are. But why isn't the Supreme Court very busy? Help her out.
It's a weapon. Like, it's a political weapon, so you don't want to use it like a lot.
No, but I do like that you're trying to make your way through. Respectfully, no. Brooklyn. Would you like to complete your full sentence? There you go. In Sharia law, ladies and gentlemen, there is not a ton of like reapply or go through or challenge the authority of. It is what it is and you accept it, which is why there's not a lot of Supreme Court. Most people, when they cause problems, Nick, put your phone away, is going to be what? What court? And what do they do in the Revolutionary Court, Nick? Huh? Not only. Sometimes they stone them for a while. Sometimes they stone like your lower body and stuff for the purpose of not killing you, but maiming you really badly. So it's not always executing, but what's like the real thing? What are they trying to enforce? Help me out, Sophia. Yes, the morality of the Iranian state, because remember it's a theocracy, so it's trying to align with those types of things. And then at the bottom you have your civil courts that are dealing with like jaywalking and like petty theft and stuff like that. Oh, okay. The civil one, civil is your 3rd type of court. It is dealing with your low-level crimes, okay? It's dealing with your low-level crimes. So all the cool stuff is getting done in which court? The revolutionary, that's where you have like the wild cases. This is where you have the really crazy punishment styles and stuff like that. In the civil court case, this is where you have like the basic courts, like the typical laws that you would think of. All right, political parties. That's your next subheading. Let's do it. Okay, your political parties. There are no political parties in Iran. There are none. Jimmy, why is there no political parties in Iran?
Because it's authoritarian.
It's authoritarian, which means you cannot challenge the
Supreme leader.
There you go. Of course, last night you watched the State of the Union. And of course you watched it. And of course you heard that Biden got heckled, like straight up heckled in the middle of his speech. Here in the United States, are there people who hate Joe Biden? Yes. Are you allowed to say, I hate Joe Biden? Yes, because we are a democracy. In an authoritarian nation, that is a big no-no. If you stand up in Tehran and say, I hate the supreme leader, what's going to happen to you very quickly? Yeah, you're going to disappear pretty quickly. That is not tolerated. So in an authoritarian regime, there are no political parties. You need to understand that there are no political parties. However, there are 2 types of political leanings. Political leanings. So here in the United States, we have 2 political parties, the Republicans and Democrats. Every person in this room leans liberal or leans conservative typically. The leanings are going to be conservative in Iran and reformers. So your reformers are looking for more democracy within Iran. So these are people who want more civil rights, more civil liberties, and want more access to the outside world. While your conservatives probably want what, Sydney?
More traditional.
Yes, absolutely. They want to keep Sharia law absolutely and purposefully intact. They want to keep the supreme leaders' power and authority absolutely impactful and as solidified as it currently is, those types of things. So there are no political parties within Iran, but there are two political leanings. One is a reformer, one is a conservative. It is important for you to know the wealthy. What leaning do you think the wealthy are in Iran, Nick? You got a 50-50 shot. Absolutely. Okay, write it down. You need to know. The wealthy are typically conservative in Iran. Why would the wealthy be conservative in Iran, Selena?
So they have power. Yeah.
Because they have power, right? They've obviously made money off the government, yes? So you might as well keep the government in place because we're already doing well for it. So if the wealthy are conservative, what do you think the middle class is? The what? They're reformers, yes. Okay. The middle class are reformers for sure. They want to have more democracy. They want to have more access. They want to have more mobility, okay, within the country. So you do need to know the class kind of component. Interest groups, here we go. Mass media is where we're going to start. You need to know that mass media in Iran is controlled by the state because it's a authoritarian regime, of course. So it is controlled by the state. However, and you do need to note this, the introduction to the internet and satellite TV has created problems for the Iranian state. Why? Why does internet and satellite TV cause problems for the Iranian state? Lucas?
I was reading about that in the book, like the internet and like all the illegal apps.
Yeah, what did they do? Why would the government want to stop it?
Because all the people getting access and everything.
Well, yeah, but what is the point of having access to it, Lucas?
So you can,
No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you, Lucas. Help me out, Ethan.
You'll get outside
Yeah.
information.
Outside ideas that will begin challenging the authority, okay? So right now, in 2023, we know that the Iranian people are in rebellion, yes? Okay? Specifically led by the women, all of those components. With that being said, apparently some of the code words these women are using are quoting Friends episodes. Isn't that the craziest thing? That these women are getting access to Friends really for the first time via the internet, and they've been using like major like quotes from the show to converse about where protests are going to be and how things are getting done. Isn't that insane? Because the show's not that good.
I agree.
I'm not. I don't get it. Like, I watched it live, okay? I was alive watching it when it came out. Like, I don't understand why people are obsessed with it. I don't get it. Seinfeld is better. Anyway, moving on. So mass media, you need to understand that the media itself in Iran is controlled by the state. You need to know that satellite television and internet is changing the game because it's giving people inside of Iran outside thoughts, which challenges the ideas the Iranian state is pushing. You also need to know that the Maj in 1981 are going to pass a law that forbids writing anything negative or saying anything negative about the government, and that will be enforced. Okay, so saying anything negative against Iran will be published. A lot of these people who are getting killed in Iran right now are getting punished due to this law, because they're using it as an opportunity for their criticisms online. The lady, the rock climber from Iran, do you remember I told you about her? She was competing outside the country. She by accidentally, if you remember the reports, forgot to put on her hijab when she went climbing, of course. And when she got back to the state, she was detained for a very long time. Her family house has been destroyed, and some very, apparently people close to the family have been gone missing and stuff like that. Now, they haven't killed her. Why don't they kill her? She's too public. That would clearly be a huge problem for the rest of the world. It's just like in China when that Chinese tennis player went missing, right? It was such a big issue because the world knows she exists. A lot of Iranian men's players have not a ton of information has been given out where their locations are from. Remember the World Cup? I know it feels like forever ago. There's some issues with some of the players of the Iranian men's team who were standing with the women, yes, refused to sing the national anthem, those types of things. All of that is part of this mass media, part of this law, and this is the law that they are using to justify the crimes and the punishments that they are wielding on these people. Okay, you need to know, ladies and gentlemen, that after the revolution in 1979, write it down, all protests were banned. After the revolution of 1979, all protests are banned. That's funny because the Iranian revolution started as a protest, and then as soon as they became the legitimate power of Iran, they banned protests. Okay, you need to know, okay, that protests are banned in Iran even though they continue to exist. And of course in 2023 we know this. You need to know, ladies and gentlemen, the 2009 election, put it in a box, you have to know it. The 2009 election is controversial and will cause the Green Movement. So the 2009 election is super controversial and will cause the Green Movement, which wants more democracy inside Iran. So the 2009 presidential election is controversial and will require and incites the Green Revolution, which wants more democracy. They want more democracy. So pre-2009, write it down, pre-2009, if you were protesting, write it down, you were protesting in Iran, they would use coercion and violence in the streets. What is coercion and violence? When I use those words, what am I referring to, Caesar?
Like they would just like
Yeah, they're going to kill you in the street, absolutely, if you're causing a problem. So Cyrus is inside Iran, he's protesting, and I'm a police officer of the morality police, and he's protesting. What am I going to do to him? I'm just going to beat the hell out of him or shoot him, and everything's fine because I can. After the Green Movement, that is no longer okay. So, right post-2009. Post-2009, Iran is using surveillance to use coercion at a later date. So, Cyrus is in Iran. Cyrus is at a protest. What is the government doing while he's out there protesting? Yeah, they're taking his photo. They're taking his photo. And then a couple months later, what's going to mysteriously happen to Cyrus? He's going to disappear. Or his house, the gas is going to go up and his whole house explodes. Those types of things. Why the change? Well, we obviously have the Green Revolution, the people inside Iran, but what's the other major reason pushing this change? When you have a government beating and killing people in the streets, good look, bad look, what happens with other nations? What do? They intervene, they condemn publicly, it's a big messy scene, the UN does sanctions. By transitioning to this surveillance thing, and you need to write it down, it allows Iran deniability. It allows Iran deniability. So does this mean Iran has become more democratic? No, it's just not done in the streets anymore. Okay? Before, if you have a bunch of people, this is what makes the Iranian 2023 Let me try this again. Hello. That is what makes the protests going on in Iran such a big deal, because they haven't really been protesting and beating people in the streets. These protests are so big and have been so impactful that the Iranian government has gone back to killing people in the streets. That's how big these protests are. You haven't seen that since 2009. The reason why is because they've gone to surveillance, and they're still using surveillance, and it's very effective. China, for instance, does not really beat people in the streets. What do they use? They are absolute surveillance, and they are the top of the line. They know every single person where they are with face recognition technology. That is so beyond our comprehension. I mean, not the U.S. military, but like ours, in fact. It's beyond our ability. They know exactly where every single citizen is, which is insanity. Iran is trying to get there, but they don't have the money for it. Okay, so your social cleavages is your next heading. Okay. What is the largest social cleavage in Iran, Brennan?
Class.
No, that's UK. Sophia. Huh? Religion. Religion is going to be the #1 social cleavage in Iran. Why does that make logical sense, Lucas?
Theocracy.
Yeah, it's a theocracy, so obviously religion is at the forefront of absolutely everything. You need to know that 99% of all Iranians are Muslim. So, if 99% are Muslim, how many are non-Muslim? Oh my God, you guys are so smart. 1% are not Muslim. Within that 99%, you need to know that 90% of that 99% are Shiite. 90% of that 99% are going to be Shiite. So how many are Sunni? 10% are Sunni. 10% are Sunni. Out of the Muslim population, 90% of them are going to be Shiite. 10% of them are going to be Sunni. So the significant minority in Iran is the Sunnis, which is in the opposite of every other country. What do you got?
Why would like a Sunni Muslim like live in Iran?
Because that's where their heritage home is. So if Russia comes in and takes over, if China comes in and takes over the United States, are you leaving?
No.
Why? Why aren't you leaving, Britt?
Yeah.
You think? Where are you going? We're a failed state. We've obviously been taken over by China. Your passport doesn't work, Britt. So where are you going?
I don't know. Maybe like Sweden.
Sweden definitely isn't going to take you.
Canada. I don't know.
Canada absolutely is
I'll
not
figure out a
taking
way
you.
though.
Illegal immigration.
Cool. Illegal immigration is what that is, because we're a failed state. If we get taken over, we'll become a failed state. So your ID, your passport is no longer valid. And keep in mind, every American is going to have that thought, I'm going somewhere else, right? And that's going to cause a refugee crisis, and people are going to shut down their borders to us. So when Iran gets taken over, why did these Sunnis stay there?
They couldn't go anywhere.
They couldn't go anywhere else because their country before it was a failed state. And the second thing is, it's also where they grew up. It's their cultural home. Their family have been living in this place for hundreds and thousands of years. That's why people don't really typically move too much, right? What do you got, Desmond?
Didn't the book they talked about like the Baha'i? I was wondering like what percentage of that is.
Oh, I have no idea. That smaller stuff, that is not something I can learn within the week I need to teach it. That's a next year problem, not a this year problem, right? Does that make sense? My brain literally hurts, and I'm trying really hard. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to Google it or go back to your book. Sorry, that's a fair answer though, right? All right, here we go. So you need to know that 99% of all Iranians are Muslim. 90% of those Muslims are Shiite. 10% are Sunni. You need to know the ethnic cleavages, by the way. You need to know that most of your Iranian ethnicity are Persians. Okay, Persian is an ethnicity. They're one of the oldest civilizations. We all know that the Romans are the foundation of Western society. Hello? The Persians are the foundation of Eastern society in the Middle East and all that range. Okay? Now in AP World, you don't really study the Persians. We don't study them at all, really. It's because they're an ancient civilization that spans both the Greeks and the Romans, which is pretty cool. All right, you need to know the majority is Persians, but the two major minorities you do need to know are Azerbaijan. Those are, it's an actual country, okay? Azerbaijanian are people who live or who are Azerbaijan. You also need to know Kurds. Okay, my little laser pointer isn't working anymore. It's been a real sadness. Maybe I will finally change the battery out, but that's a maybe, not a definitely. What? Azerbaijanian. Okay, Kurds. The Kurds are special because the Kurds are Sunni. You need to know that. So, who does Iran blame all their problems on? Kurds. Who have they tried and attempted multiple times to do genocide on? Kurds. Absolutely. They are the scapegoat. They are absolutely targeted by the Iranian state, and they are blamed for every problem that they face. It is the Kurds. What do you got?
I thought they blamed America.
They do, but they can't blame, like, oh man, our water isn't great, right? That's not America's fault. The big picture stuff, it's America's fault for the sanctions and stuff like that. But then, like, you're just common everyday racism, Ethan. You can't just blame on America, so they blame the Kurds. You know what I mean? You got to be multifaceted in your blame. So, local, regional issues are the Kurds. Then it goes back. And why do they curse on the Kurds? Why, David?
Oh, no, I was gonna ask a question.
Why do they pick the Kurds? Come on, come on, come on. I just pulled this through. Grant.
They're Sunni.
They're Sunni. Well, the 90% of the majority are. Do you see how this fundamental problem between Sunni and Shiites are in every aspect of Iran? What do you got, David?
So all the countries surrounding Iran are Sunnis.
Yes. They're the only Shiite one in the whole world. There's only been 2 countries in the history of the world that have devoted themselves to Shia.
That's why they say Iran's full of the minorities.
Yes, that's why. All the Shiites would like to be in Iran versus in other countries where they're the minority and they are targeted. In Iran, they get to be in the majority. Think life is better there. Because keep in mind, this is a fundamental flaw in Islam.
Yeah.
This conflict leads to death all around the world. In Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Sunni Shiites are killing each other in genocide all the time. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Most common languages. Persian is the number 1, followed by Turkish. Those are the 2 big ones in Iran. Okay, so here's I've clicked this stupid thing all day. Stupid laser pointer. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what you do need to know, okay, is your basic facts about Iran. I don't need you to write all these down, but there's a couple things I want you to know. There's only 82.8 million people in Iran. Don't write that down because it doesn't mean anything to you. Is that a big country or a small country? It's a pretty small country. It's on the smaller side, so keep that in mind. But their literacy rate, and you should make a note of this, and we're going to pull it through here in a second, is 90%. What is our literacy rate?
45.
45? You have covered the gamut. Pick one, and we'll go from there. No. Grant.
Like 75?
72. Yeah. Are you happy with that? Sure, we are more than half. Woo! Okay, why does Iran, now keep in mind this does include women. Why are women who are not formally educated in Iran part of this 90% reading proficiency? Ford. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, write it down. In Islam, you have to be able to read the Quran because the Quran is the direct word of God. It's the direct word of God via the Prophet Muhammad. Does that make sense? God told Muhammad. Muhammad had it written down by a scribe. Okay? In Islam. You have to be able to read the Quran because you need to read the Word of God directly. Does Christianity believe that? No, they don't. If you've taken AP Art History, you know that. In the Middle Ages, is everyone reading in Europe? No, because in the churches, they would put pictures in the stained glass window, and you knew the stories of the Bible by looking at the pictures. Reading is not necessary in Catholicism. Okay? However, in Islam, it is absolutely mandatory, which is why all Muslim countries have super high literacy rates. Isn't that cool? Huh? It is kind of a bonus. Okay. All right. Tehran is their capital, but you should already know that because I had you write it down earlier. You need to know that 75% of Iranians live in city, which means 25% lives in rural. So there is a conflict between rural and urban. Okay? This is something you need to write down. Immediately after the Iranian Revolution, birth rates go up. Alex, write it down. Immediately after the Iranian Revolution, birth rates go up. Modern day Iran, or present day Iran, birth rates are down. There are two reasons for this. Why? Who can give me one reason? Why is one reason that birth rates go immediately up after the revolution, and why are they down now? Pick one to answer, Riley. Nationalism, no. Brooklyn.
The sanctions are
So is that the reason why it went up or down?
down.
Down. There you go. Sanctions on Iran has tightened the economy. Write it down. Sanctions on Iran have tightened the economy, which means people are having less kids. What's another reason why it's going down now? Huh?
Sanctions in Iran.
But that's what we literally just talked about,
No,
yes.
no, that's-
Sanctions in Iran have caused it. What's another reason why birth rates have gone down? Why are birth rates low here in the United States? Who can tell me why birth rates are low? Ian? Huh?
I think they get better education.
Who's really causing the lower birth rate?
That's what it said.
What?
It said like,
Yeah, no, I know, but who is limiting the birthing here, people? Women. That's why I was waving at you awkwardly, Anne. Okay? It is women because women want higher education. So if you have a kid at home and go to school and get a high school education? Easy or hard? Really, really hard. So because there's more access to education, of course you do have birth control, of course you do have these other things that are starting to permit through. The biggest thing is that women are starting to gain more rights in the last 10 years, which when women have more access to education and economic opportunity, you are going to start seeing the birth rate slow down. Does that make sense? Okay? So, the reason why the birth rate goes up after the Iranian Revolution, why? There was a government mandate. Everyone had to have babies. Yeah, they had a government mandate. Anyone who could have babies had to have babies. Why?
people die.
Yeah, lots of people are going to die, and they're trying to create a stable economy. All right, here we go. Economics. If that's your next heading. Iran is a mixed economy. Alice, what's a mixed economy?
It has both.
You're right.
It's like both of something. It has.
Well, yes, that's how you get mixed. You have to have two things to put together to make a mix. What are the two major economic systems, Alice? Help her out, Hannah. What are the two major economic systems? We're one of them. What system are we? Annie, help me. Oh my God. I'm like striking out across the road. Jordan, help me.
Capitalism.
It's a mix between capitalism and communism, but really socialism, but that's a whole other problem for another day. It's a mix between capitalism and communism. What capitalism is that there are small businesses are allowed to open, and if you have an idea, you can open a business. Write it down. We clearly don't know what a mixed economy is. We've talked about mixed economies here, people. We're only going to talk about more mixed economies. Okay? So a mixed economy, they have people opening businesses. So private citizens can't open businesses, but the government owns all the natural resources. So the government owns the natural resources, but individuals can open a job. So in Iran, who owns all the oil production? Iran. But if you wanted to open a tourist, you know, open a tourist touring program in Tehran, could you do it? Yeah, and there's people. There are tourists in Tehran. There's not a lot. They're only from 2 countries. I don't know what 2 countries really are the only people who visit Iran. Brennan.
Saudi Arabia.
No, Saudi Arabia doesn't really go. It's Sunni versus Shia. It's not a good look. Sophia. No, they're not really. They've got a lot of things going on right now. Oh my God, there was the craziest article that came out yesterday that says ISIS, who took over Afghanistan, yes, you know, the terrorist group who like chop off people's heads, do crazy stuff. They say they're really bored running the government and really regret taking over because they don't like having 8 to 5 jobs. They have to go and run the government now because they took over and they're miserable. Isn't that the most amazing thing you've ever heard? These terrorists are bored and the men are getting frustrated and are leaving in droves from government jobs. That warms my heart in all the right places. So corporatism is really going to end terrorism. Here we go. Britt.
China.
China! Who else is on that level, Britt?
Russia.
Russia. There you go. You need to know that China and Russia are the 2 largest purchasers of Iran's oil. The United States does not purchase Iran's oil. Why? Because they hate us. We consider them a terrorist organization. And any country that's labeled a terrorist organization, pretty much everyone in the West, the EU and the UN, refuse to buy oil because if you buy oil from a terrorist country, you continue to fuel. So the United States avoids buying oil from Iran. Iran, I don't think, would sell it to us anyway. And the 2 countries that do buy oil from Iran are China and Russia. Okay. You need to know that economic sanctions by the UN play a huge role in stopping the growth of the economy in Iran, which is the point of sanctions, okay, because sanctions are supposed to punish, okay, the slow growth of Iran's economy. Okay, now you do need to know that the bureaucracy of Iran is controlled by religious elites. Doesn't that make sense? Because what type of government is it? Theocracy. All right, domestic policy of Iran. Domestic policy. We have a thing called the Bonyads or something, whatever that is. They are your morality police. Write that down. We casually in the West call them the morality police, but that's their official name. So what do? What do they do, Brooklyn?
When someone is not, or criticizing the government possibly.
Okay, yeah, but it's not just that. Brennan?
They don't have all
Hijab, absolutely. For instance, there was a couple who at 3 o'clock in the morning snuck out of their apartment. They met up because they're unmarried, so they obviously can't be living together. They snuck out, and in the middle of Tehran Square, which is considered like a really important, not sacred, but like up there, they decided to do a ballroom dancing sequence while the girl had her hair down. In the middle of Tehran at 3 o'clock in the morning where there was like no one there, but they recorded it on Instagram. Both of them are in jail for 10 years.
Are they like stupid?
Why are they stupid?
Because
They're trying to challenge the authority in a peaceful way. Huh?
Do they do it on purpose to challenge the authority?
Yeah, they love it. I don't know.
Die soon.
They got arrested by the Boneyard who are enforcing the laws. Women can't have their hair down. She was wearing a dress, like, you know, strapless dress, all that stuff. She broke a ton of rules. Now, the foreign policy. You need to know the most important thing to Iran is the nuclear growth, ladies and gentlemen. The thing that matters most to Iran is nuclear power because they are the minority of their religion. Everyone else in the Middle East hates them because they're Shiite while the rest are Sunni. You also need to know they have complaints against the United States, which is the largest nuclear power in the world. Their biggest fear is that other countries will pile up. So what they want to do is to have nukes to protect themselves. Because keep in mind, their biggest nemesis all have nuclear weapons. That is the biggest problem. You need to know from 1979 to present day, this is one of the largest issues facing the world. Okay? Trump tried figuring it out, couldn't get it done. Obama gave him $1 billion in weapons in order to stop the nuclear program, which is one of the biggest issues with Obama's administration, is that they handed him $1 billion and a bunch of weapons. The problem is, what did Iran keep doing? Yeah, you know, I just told you like a month ago, they have nuclear fusion. And what has happened to all those weapons? They're everywhere. They're in Africa, they're in the Middle East, they're over in Pakistan. Those weapons are now all over the place and are creating a nightmare for our troops around the world, which is one of the biggest criticisms against Obama's administration. Okay, supranational. You need to know they are a major, they are not a major player, but they are in OPEC, which is the oil producing and export Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. They are responsible for gas prices. Why is Iran in OPEC? Why? What does Iran have? I have oil, so they're in OPEC. Okay? Even though everyone else in OPEC pretty much hates Iran, why do they need Iran in it? Because it's all about the price of oil. If Iran's not in OPEC, then it can set its own price. If it's in OPEC, it has to follow the prices of every other country. With that being said, it makes people more money if Iran's in it, which is why Iran is in it. You need to know they are a member of the UN, but they are not a member of the World Trade Organization. Why are they not a member of the World Trade Organization? Desmond. The U.S. is the World Trade Organization, and if it's not the U.S., then it's the U.K. And who's the biggest threats to Iran? If Iran gets nuclear weapons, who are they blowing up first? So they are not in the World Trade Organization. You do need to know that Iran is a member of the International Monetary Fund, and they do get some aid, not a lot. Why don't they get a ton of aid? Because they're a terrorist nation, there's a lot of abuse of power, so they try to avoid giving it to the government and giving it to the civilians of Iran instead. The biggest issue is some of the big issues in Iran. You need to know that the green movement and trying to get more democracy is still a thing in Iran, as we know in 2023. The other major issue is gender equality. Gender inequality in Iran is incredibly severe. Why, Sydney? What law structure in Iran forbids gender equality? Sharia law. You need to know that it's one of the highest in the world, okay? You need to know the women have been sent to jail because they've asked for women's rights, and they are forced to cover their hair. There you go. I guess they didn't need me that bad, huh?